Okay, in the last video we showed you how to make these power nodes for the 12-volt power bus, we put shrink tubing over one of them. After that video we just put shrink tubing over the other terminal. So now we've got all the ESCs hooked up to the 12-volt power, and we have 2 wires for each positive and negative node ready to go. So one wire from each is going to loop around back to the back of this Molex connector, and that's how power gets supplied to this node. You can do it a few ways, but what I like to do is have the wire from one go in through one side of this bulkhead, and the wire from the other go into the opposite hole, just so you can separate which one is positive and which one is negative. You just kind of shove it through the hole, looks like that. Now by convention, just the convention we kind of arbitrarily chose, in these top holes, the outermost hole is going to be negative, and then one in from that is going to be positive. So that's why I have the positive coming in through the left here. And I'll take one of these wires and put it in through this side. And this is the ground for the 12-volt bus. So it looks like that. So one wire from each node going in behind these, and one wire from each node just loose right now. So I always like to just cut wires long and then trim their size down when the time comes, rather than trying to get the measurement exactly right on the spot. So this one I'm kind of looping it around, giving a little bit of slack, not too much. If you have too much slack, then it'll get stuck when you try putting the tube on. So I'm going to cut that, I don't know, let's say somewhere around here. And then this one's going to loop around, and it's going to go into there. So I'll cut that somewhere around the same place. Doesn't really matter, it's not an exacting art. Now I use my auto stripper. I'm going to strip off some wire so we can put a crimp connector on. Remember, for the crimp connectors, you don't want it to strip out too long of a length. I think something like that is about right. And do that for the other side. Yeah, something like that. Now remember, don't get them confused. You have both male and female pins. For this Molex connector, you want to use the male pin, the pin that doesn't have a hole in the end of it. So we're just going to put that at the end of both of these wires. You've already seen many times how to do this, but we'll do it one more time. I've got my yellow crimping tool. I'm going to use the smaller of the 2 channels, the B channel, to crimp around the conductor. Remember, I've made it so the conductor is going around the inner crimp, and then there's an insulation layer that goes past the outer crimp. I'm going to give it a nice tug to make sure it's on firmly. Again, you don't want that falling off once you've already clicked into the Molex connector, so give it a nice firm tug. And I'll do the same for this one. That. There's one. And there's 2. Cool. Nice tug to make sure it's good. Again, just make sure you're getting the polarity right. This is the negative node, the node coming from the black end, and that wraps around on the right side. The negative end goes into the outermost hole on the top. So again, I'm making it so the channel is facing upward. You can kind of see it there. And then I have to push until it clicks. There's the click, kind of give it a light tug, doesn't pull out. And here's positive, it's going to go right next to it. Channel up, click, nice tug, and it's good. So now you've got the power connected. The last thing we're going to do in this step is attach the tether. The tether also comes in through the Molex connector and plugs in, and just again by kind of our own arbitrary convention, we're going to assign the 2 terminals next to the power to be the tether. Now the way the tether works is it doesn't actually, it's a balanced pair. It doesn't actually have like a TX and an RX line. So it doesn't matter what polarity you have it in. It could be flipped, it doesn't really matter. So from the tether that you got in your kit, you're just going to pull a 20 or 30 centimeter length of wire. This is enough. And that's just enough to wrap around. So here it is. And it's going to go from the Molex connector and then wrap around and eventually plug into the home plug adapter. I've made it long. In this case, I've cut off more than I need to, but it's easier to do that than try to get some exact length. So this is going to be really easy. Basically, same thing. I'm going to strip it. It's a little bit long. If you're making a stripped area for your Molex connectors and you make them a bit long, you can always just trim them down a bit. Let's see, I used the wrong side of the cutters. There we go. And then same thing as you've seen before. I'm going to place it in. It's going to be hard for the camera to zoom in on this, but you can kind of get the idea. Alright, there's one that's around the conductor. Now there's a large one around the insulator. Because the wire is so thin, it ends up kind of crimping just to one side, and that's okay. Just give it a good tug and make sure that it, you know, it's holding really well. Here's the next one. And I'll do the large crimp. Again, you can see it just went through one. Give it a tug, it looks good. So I guess I'd say just if you want to be consistent, it really doesn't matter. Honestly, you could go either way, but just for funsies, let's keep it so it's the same kind of standard where the black wire goes toward the outside of the Molex connector. So we'll put that one in first. Really, this one's kind of hard because the wire is so thin, it's hard to push it in enough for it to click. Let me try it again. There we go, I think I got it that time. And then here comes the red one right next to it, channel up. Okay, so now we have both of these. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll show you how to start attaching all these wires to the cape. Basically, positive and negative are going to go around, the tether is going to go around, and we're also going to introduce the wires from the LED lights, and these will all plug into the cape that goes here. So there you go. That's what it looks like so far. You're well on your way to having a working ROV.